To speak in support of the Victoria Police Amendment Police Reservists Bill of 2026. In doing so, I commend the Minister for Police for bringing this bill to the chamber, the work of Victoria Police in informing it and guiding it, which of course I support in my capacity as the Parliamentary Secretary for Community Safety as well. And because Acting Speaker, everyone across our community deserves a right to be and feel safe in their homes, in their streets, in their suburbs, workplaces and communities. And that's why as a government we've continued to take strong action to keep our communities safe. Strong action on crime and strong action on the root causes of crime, very much contrary to the comments of the Shadow Minister, which I'll turn to in a moment. And as part of this, I'd like to acknowledge and just commend the work and the role of Victoria Police in keeping us all safe, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, right across our community. And we know the risk that police face every single day when they put on the uniform and go out on duty. And we saw the devastating consequences and risks of what that means on the 26th of August, of course, last year in Paulpunka. And again, we continue to commemorate those memories of Detective Leading Sergeant, Senior Constable Neil Thompson and Senior Constable Vadim Dewart Hotart, because we must continue doing more than ever to keep our community, but also our police, safe by giving them the powers, the tools, the resources and the investments they need and they deserve and they request in doing their job to keep us all safe. And again, contrary to the comments of the Shadow Minister, we have continued to take that strong action. We've appointed the new Victoria Police Commissioner, Mike Bush, who is now a year into the role and very much working towards modernising the deployment of Victorian police resources. We've invested $5 billion into Victoria Police since 2014. We've provided police officers with a pay rise, recognising their work. We've recruited more police. Again, contrary to those comments, 3,600 more police have been recruited under this government since 2014. Victoria has the largest police force in Australia, period. Full stop. 15,500 sworn police officers, 1,400 PSOs. Our Made for More campaign, which received more money in the recent state budget, has seen applications skyrocket to 5-year highs for the amount of people applying to join the police force. 8,700 applications last year alone. And the Police Academy is continuing to facilitate double squads graduating every 2 weeks. 1,300 new recruits each year, 52 recruits every 2 weeks. And in terms of laws, we continue to progress those strong laws, including the bill that's before us today, of course, but starting with our tough bail laws to crack down on violent, dangerous and serious repeat offending. We've implemented adult time for violent crimes so that serious, violent young criminals face the same consequences as adults. Life sentences for recruiting a child to commit serious crimes. Tougher laws and measures to crack down on organised crime, bikie gangs and illicit tobacco. We've tripled the number of tobacco licensing inspectors, and just today Minister Erdogan has announced the introduction of new laws around closure notices for tobacco premises that sell illicit tobacco being introduced into Parliament. And these laws are having a difference already. Remand decisions where a judge sentences someone to jail have increased by nearly 70%. That's 10,000 more offenders that have been remanded since these laws have been brought into effect. Bail revocations have increased by 84%. Children's court bail refusals are up by more than a third, and overall bail refusals are now at record highs. We've also, of course, introduced the nation's first ban on machetes and other measures to take dangerous weapons off our street. And that's led to 17,500 machetes that have been seized by Victoria Police and over 12,000 that have been surrendered. Almost 30,000 machetes have been taken off our street since the machete laws have been introduced by this state, which the opposition continue to campaign against. We've introduced brand new offences for assaulting workers, posting and boasting about crime online and serious vilification reforms. We're listening to Victoria Police about how they deploy their resources too. A new intelligent-led PSO model enabling Victoria Police to put PSOs where they're needed, when they're needed, based on real police intelligence as well, Acting Speaker. Over $8 million in funding to support Operation Pulse, which is seen as part of that PSOs patrolling shopping precincts to keep families, workers and shoppers safe. We're boosting more PSO resources even further with $44 million in this year's budget and to recruit at least an extra 50 additional PSOs. In terms of crime prevention, we've established the Violence Reduction Unit that is investing in local place-based initiatives, youth crime, early intervention, diversion programs, including community safety and social workers in schools that we're funding through organisations like Blue Blue Light, the Les 20man Foundation, and so much more. And as Parliamentary Secretary, I'm delighted to be working very closely with the VRU and its CEO, Andrea Davidson, to progress that very important work. One of the biggest issues that wasn't mentioned by the opposition in his opening contribution was the #1 law and order issue in this state, which is family violence. He did not even go anywhere near that. He did not even go anywhere. He didn't even go anywhere near that. Thank you, Speaker. And as I was saying before, we were cut off for the lunch break and question time and responding to the Shadow Minister's comments. One of the themes that he really overlooked as part of his opening remarks and contribution related to family violence, and it is the #1 law and order issue in the state. 1 woman every 9 days has their life taken at the hands of men's violence. There's 1 police call out at least every 6 minutes across Victoria as a result of family violence. And if we want to free up police to be more proactive and responsive to whether it's family violence or other crimes, this is why this bill is so important, to get them out of the station, out from behind the desk doing the admin work and out on patrol to keep our whole community, but particularly women and families, safe. We're also, of course, implementing significant reforms to protect victim survivors. The introduction of a standalone offence for coercive control is being introduced, and a lot of other measures to combat men's violence against women as well. But of course, as I said, part of this, we know we need to do more to get police out of the stations and on patrol and out into the community. And on this side of the House, we back the Chief Commissioner's plan to get more officers out on the streets instead of stuck behind their desks, through the recruitment of 200 new police reservists to free up more frontline police officers to stay out on patrol. $62 million allocated in this year's budget. Analysis by Victoria Police shows that police officers currently spend 4,000 hours a day behind a reception counter or a desk. That's 1.4 million hours every year staffing reception counters at police stations. It is this Chief Commissioner's view and the government's view that those 4,000 hours a day would be better spent out in the community, in the vans, walking the pavements and responding to calls for service. That is what reservists will make possible. They will do this by performing key administrative duties that are currently being undertaken by police officers. A police reservist scheme means that more frontline officers will be freed from desk and deployed into communities responding to calls for service. And police officers often taken away, as we know, from frontline duties to undertake non-operational duties, including responding to public inquiries and other administrative tasks. And these tasks are important, but we do not need to be undertaken by police officers per se, who would otherwise be used to prevent and respond to crime out in the suburbs. And that is why, as I said, this budget have funded a police reservist scheme through 200 reservists to provide that additional pool of resources. And this legislation provides that necessary framework for a modern, fit-for-purpose reservist scheme to be established. But even though this is a new bill, this is actually not a new scheme. A previous police reservist scheme exists under the former Police Regulations Act of 1958. There was also provisions in the Victoria Police 2013 Act to manage existing police reservists. But this bill will empower the Commissioner of Police to appoint police reservists to perform non-operational duties, and when on duty, police reservists will have general duties and powers of a constable at common law and may perform non-operational duties such as, but not limited to, support commencement of investigation, assisting with public inquiries and other front counter duties at police stations, such as taking crime reports at the counter or over the phone. And there's quite a substantive set of provisions in this bill around how and when they will be guided to be recruited, to be trained. We're looking at potentially people with experience of at least 2 years in a police force in Victoria or equivalent force, and a lot of other measures around the operations of how the scheme will roll out. Already 600 expressions of interest have been submitted, Speaker, so there's quite a lot of interest, and people are encouraged to visit police.vic.gov.au to sign up and express their interest today as well. The scheme is, of course, supported by the Chief Commissioner of Victoria Police, Victoria Police Association. I'd like to acknowledge Wayne Gatt, who I recently met with as well, to speak about this bill, and also the Police Registration and Services Board. Now, the alternative is what the Liberals are proposing, and what the Liberals, you cannot trust the Liberals to keep our community safe. The last time they sat on the Treasury benches, they did not fund one single additional police officer during their 4 years of government. And while they're busy politicising the issue of community safety, we are taking the real action to do something about it. Their proposal for $40 billion of cuts out of the state budget will impact 1 in 7 public servants, and they are kidding themselves if they think this is not going to impact police services and frontline police operations. And the Shadow Minister of all people has the least amount of credibility when it comes to talking to us on community safety. He was the leader of the opposition, and his own people, his own party room didn't even trust him to take action on community safety. When we introduced the tougher bail laws, he fled on a cruise ship, he fled on a holiday, he bailed. And we're talking about a police reservist scheme, not an opposition leader's reservist scheme, which he is now joined the ranks of with the member for Hawthorn, the member for Bulleen, the member for Malvern and others. This is real action on community safety.
Member